Does the NHL have a creativity issue? After the most recent rebrands of the Boston Bruins and the St. Louis Blues, both being retro throwback jerseys, it's a question that I've been seeing pop up more and more. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the past couple of seasons and see if there is some sort of pattern there of them all being retro jerseys, or if it's just in people's heads because, of those two recent rebrands. We're also going to see what you guys have to say. I put up a poll on my channel, so we'll take a look at those poll results and see some of your guys' comments as well, and then of course I'll give you guys my opinion. But before we do get into it, if you guys are new to the channel and you like hockey jersey content, please make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's get into it. To determine whether or not there is a pattern here, I want to take a look back at almost every single new jersey that has come out in the past 5 years. So that is going all the way back to the 2021 season, where it was just like the COVID year. You only played in your own divisions. There was the Canadian division. So that is the time frame that we're going to go back to from that season all the way up until basically right now. The reason I said almost every new jersey is because honestly, there are a couple of series that I decided not to include. I'm not going to include any of the Winter Classics, Stadium Series, Heritage Classics. I felt like, I don't know, I wanted this mostly to be primary jerseys. I'm also not including the Reverse Retro Series. That one I decided not to include here because, that is 63 new jerseys that would just sway it in the favor of the retro side. And I feel like that is just, being a little bit unfair because yes, it is, all of these jerseys that are retro jerseys, but that's the whole point of the series. So maybe I'll include it as like one jersey of its own, like one little section on the retro side, but I didn't want to include every single one of those jerseys. It would have been a little bit too much in my opinion. Yeah, we're going back to the 2021 season. No Heritage Classic, Winter Classic, Stadium Series, or Reverse Retro jerseys, but I believe I got every single other new jersey from that time frame. So let's go in, let's take a look at what are new jerseys and what are retro jerseys. So on our retro side, we have the Arizona Coyotes 2021 to 2024 away jersey. I did not include their home jersey at this time because that actually came out before the 2021 season. I have the Boston Bruins 2024 Centennial Game jersey, the Boston Bruins home and away jersey that just came out recently, the Buffalo Sabres home and away jersey that released in 2021, the Buffalo Sabres third jersey, the Goat Head jersey, the Calgary Flames home and away jersey that came out in 2021, their third jersey, which technically is a little bit different, but it's close enough to the original Blasty jersey, at least in my mind, that I included it in this retro list. I didn't want to split it up between retro and like a remix and then a new one, so it's just either retro or new. We also have the Carolina Hurricanes 25th anniversary jersey, the Carolina Hurricanes Whalers night jersey, the Chicago Blackhawks and their 100th anniversary jersey, the LA Kings third jersey. That one you can maybe also argue is a little bit new, but for me, I felt like it was too close to just the Chevron jerseys that I thought that it would be in the retro. It's a little bit more of a retro remix, I would say, but leans heavier on the retro side for myself. I've also included the new home and away jerseys for the LA Kings that they came out with last year. Technically, they are once again a little bit different than the Gretzky era ones, but they're close enough in my mind that they fall onto the retro list. We also have the Minnesota Wild third jersey, the Philadelphia Flyers 2023 home and away jerseys, so the ones that they came out with that season. We have the Ottawa Senators home and away jerseys that came out in 2021. We have the Pittsburgh Penguins and their diagonal third jersey, the St. Louis Blues home and away jerseys that they just came out with, the Vancouver Canucks 2022 third jersey, which is not quite the same as that 50th anniversary jersey. And so once again, that one is a little bit different from their original black skate jersey, but it is close enough. I almost forgot, I do also have the Winnipeg Jets and their 2023 Heritage jersey, so the RCAF jersey, which technically is not a jersey we've seen in the NHL, but it is basically a direct throwback to a previous, Hockey Canada Olympics jersey. So it's pretty much a direct throwback to that jersey. So even though we haven't seen it in the NHL, it's still a retro jersey. And then last in the retro list is the Washington Capitals and their 50th anniversary jersey, which yes, they did wear as the Reverse Retro 2.0, then brought it over to the 50th anniversary jersey. A couple of teams did that. The Flames did that with their 1.0, and then the Wild did it with their 2.0. But, even though I said I wasn't going to include any reverse retros, they have used those as their third jerseys. So that is why I decided to include them here. So now let's take a look at all of the new jerseys from the past 5 seasons. So we have the Anaheim Ducks 30th anniversary jersey. We also have the Anaheim Ducks home and away jerseys. So the reason why I have the Kings in the retro and the Ducks in the new is because at least with the Ducks, even though once again they did make minor changes to a previous logo like the Kings did, the Ducks actually made a lot of changes to the striping as well as having a brand new color. It's not, the eggplant color or anything like they did previously. It's I guess previous colors that they've used on other jerseys, but it's different enough from most other jerseys of theirs, which is why it's in the new category. Whereas the Kings, it's so close to those Gretzky eras, which is why I have them in the retro. Anyways, we also have the Arizona Coyotes in their third jersey. I have all of the Boston Bruins Centennial season jerseys, so the home, the away, and the third. You can probably argue that the third is close enough to their 70s jerseys with just like kind of a new logo and a little bit different colors to throw it in the retro side, but for me, it is different enough, especially with that logo, that I do have it in the new category, but you can make an argument there for sure. I have the Dallas Stars 2021 third jersey, the New Jersey Devils 2021 third jersey, the New York Rangers 2023 third jersey, both of the Seattle Kraken home and away jerseys, because they came into the league, so they are new. I have the San Jose Sharks new home and away jerseys from 2022, the San Jose Sharks third jersey from 2023, the Tampa Bay Lightning 2023 third jersey as well. I have the Toronto Maple Leafs 2021 third jersey, the black one. I also have their new St. Pat's jersey that they started using in 2024. All of the Utah and Utah Mammoth, so the Utah Hockey Club and the Utah Mammoth home and away jerseys. You could probably combine the away jerseys since they are so similar. Like, yes, the home jersey is literally just a new logo on the shoulders and on the front, but the away jersey is just, the logos on the shoulders. The front there is, basically just an italicized look to it. That's really all it is. So I am going to combine the away jerseys. I'll do that since they are so similar. I'm not going to put them in the retro side. We'll just have it as, the away jerseys being one jersey. So yeah, we'll keep it as that. And then we have the Vegas Golden Knights and their 2021 third jersey. That is now the home jersey, the all gold. And then lastly, for the Washington Capitals, I have the 2021 third jersey. So the one with the big W on it. Which brings us to our final count. So since the 2021 season, I have counted 50 new jerseys. 27 of them are in the retro category, 23 I put in the new category. So yeah, it does seem like the retro jerseys have been a little bit more favored over the past 5 seasons, and I didn't even include the reverse retro series, like not even as its own little indicator in the 50 jerseys. So technically, if you wanted to do that, it would be 51 new jerseys, 28 of them are in the retro category. So yeah, there does seem to be a little bit more of a favor towards retro jerseys. Now, I don't know how that compares to previous half decades. Maybe maybe this half decade we got more retro jerseys than usual. Maybe we didn't. I'm not really too sure. I haven't looked at the previous, half decades or anything like that. And I do think you can argue my list a little bit here. I feel like you could probably argue maybe that LA Kings third jersey should go into the new category, but then you could also argue that Boston Bruins Centennial third jersey should go in the retro category. I feel like you could argue a couple of those here and there, but for the most part, it's either a little bit more favored on the retro side or even, I would say. I'll be honest, this result does surprise me a little bit, even though I do remember, saying in my videos over the past couple of seasons, that I want teams to do something new, or if they are going to do a throwback jersey, to try and do something a little bit different with it, at least modernize it and don't just do a direct throwback. I've said that quite often in my videos, I would say. However, if you asked me before making this list if there was more new jerseys or retro jerseys, I probably would have said new jerseys, and I would have said, it's just in my head thinking about all the retro jerseys, and there's probably still more new ones. So yeah, even though you probably could argue a couple of retro jerseys going to the new jerseys, I still feel like at best you come out even with this list here. So yeah, it is a little bit surprising. But I don't know if I would say that the NHL is lacking creativity with this. I feel like that wording is a little bit harsh, but it does seem like they're playing it a bit safe. And I feel like that is kind of the case for a lot of industries right now. Just for one example, the movie industry, they've been doing it for a while, but, sequels and prequels and just throwbacks, reboots, all of those are big in the movie industry right now. They want to play it safe. And I feel like the NHL is sort of doing that in a way. They're not going too crazy with all of the throwback jerseys and the retro jerseys. I feel like they are doing it more frequently than I would really like, but it hasn't pushed it so far where I'm really pissed off about it. Right now I'm like, okay, they're probably at a little bit higher of a ratio than I would really like, but they don't need to tone it down too much. I feel like Honestly, if there was 27 new jerseys and 23 retro, I would probably be okay with it. To be honest, I would like more new jerseys than retro jerseys, but the retro jerseys, they don't need to go away completely in my mind. I understand, why teams do it. They would much rather just make a jersey that they know fans already like and that they're already going to buy, so it's an easy play. They'll make a lot of money off of it. They don't have to worry about it. Where if they do make a new jersey, people don't really like change a whole lot, so if they make something new, you have that backlash there where, it could be for, honestly, I've seen backlash for the Anaheim Ducks new jerseys, and I'm like, I don't know how. Those jerseys are phenomenal in my eyes. I love it so much. So I don't really get it a whole lot, and I feel like if the Anaheim Ducks just did a direct throwback, just basically made their inaugural season jerseys, I don't think too many people really would have complained, to be honest. I feel like that they could have played it a lot safer with their new jerseys, so I'm glad that they did go at least in a semi-different direction. But I wouldn't say that the NHL is lacking creativity. I feel like that is it just feels a little harsh. So yeah, they're more playing it safe, at least in my eyes. But let's go ahead and take a look at what you guys had to say. So I did put up a poll on my channel. It was probably a couple of weeks ago now. I asked, with most of the new primary jerseys being throwbacks, is the NHL lacking creativity? I had 138 votes on this poll. 41% said yes, 59% said no. So a lot of you guys, I guess, kind of agree and say that, the NHL not really lacking creativity. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of your comments, though. So for our first comment, it's kind of a 2-in-1 because we got a reply here. So we have Dave, who says that the NHL does lack creativity. That's why they keep going back to the old jerseys, where DN, nice. I don't even know if that's intentional, D's nuts or not. I don't know. But they replied saying that they just realized what they had in the past was better. And I don't know if, like I said, I'm not sure if I completely agree with that. I don't think that they're going back to the old jerseys because they realized it was better. For at least, in my opinion, in my eyes, it's more them just playing it a lot safer. They know that is what people like, so they realize that that is what they should go to, so they don't have to make something new and kind of risk it being a little bit different and, kind of have that possibility of people not liking it. And it just kind of feels like right now that's how a lot of companies are kind of feeling that they should do it. They should just play it a little bit safe. Let's go on to our next comment from Evil Duck that says, no, St. Louis and Boston's jerseys were good. I'm not saying that they weren't good. Like, even though I think you can say that the NHL lacks creativity or they're playing it safe and still say that the jerseys are nice. Like, I like both the Boston and the St. Louis rebrands. I think they look really good, but they are just using old jerseys. That's all they're doing. They're not doing anything new. So, yeah, it is a little upsetting in that aspect where I would like for them to do something new. But man, they're nice looking jerseys, so I definitely get why they went back to them. And then our last comment here is from the dude. Kind of wish they do a 4-jersey thing like the NBA, have them wear whatever they want, whenever they want, provided the colors clash with their opponents. Now, I don't watch any other sport other than hockey, so I don't watch the NBA, but I wonder how well that works, because I know, at least right now, even in hockey, some people still complain about teams having alternate jerseys. They don't like those third jerseys, which is crazy to me, but I think those people are really, really old school and are a very small minority. I don't think that's a ton of people who don't like the alternate jerseys. I feel like 4 jerseys is a little bit too much, to be honest. At least, I guess it depends on how they're used, because, if they can just use them whenever and they use them a ton, then I feel like that gets confusing for the casual fan. Like, thinking about it in myself terms, me thinking about the NBA, I've only watched a couple of NBA games. I mostly watch it, in the playoffs when I'm just watching it with my friends, and I really don't know any NBA jerseys. Like, I don't know what team is what color, pretty much, for the most part. I know the Jazz are purple and they have like mountains and then it says Jazz, but I don't even know if that's their home jersey or if it's like an alternate. I'm really not too sure. So yeah, I feel like I like to have kind of guidelines a little bit with the jerseys. I like the fact that you have a home jersey and a away jersey, and you can wear a third jersey every now and again. If you implement a 4th jersey, I think it could be okay, as long as, they do it sort of, kind of like a heritage jersey, or they use it only for a couple of nights. I feel like if you use all 4 jerseys for the exact same amount of games, it's a little bit too much. I'm not sure if that's, kind of what the dude is saying here, or if, I'm just misinterpreting it. But yeah, I feel like that would be a little bit too much. Although I would like if teams used 2 color jerseys as long as they clash, like a blue jersey versus a red jersey. I would like to see that more in the NHL for sure. That is something that I definitely would like to see, but I wouldn't say that's a creativity issue, and I feel like we're going into another topic. So, yeah, I guess, honestly, a lot of NHL teams do have 4 jerseys right now, because a lot of teams have a 3rd jersey, and then you do have a couple of teams that have, heritage jerseys, you have teams that'll do anniversary jerseys, and then, of course, you have the teams in the Winter Classics and the Stadium Series jerseys, and they tend to use those at least 1 or 2 other times outside of those games. So, yeah, honestly, a lot of teams probably do have 4 jerseys. They just don't use them a ton. I feel like those 4th jerseys are usually only used like maybe 4 times a season at most. But yeah, anyways, overall, I don't think that the NHL is really lacking creativity. However, I still would like to see a couple of more new jerseys. I think for the most part, the times where I don't like when the NHL is doing retro jerseys is when it's just a straight throwback. I do like when they mix it up a little bit. That is when I tend to kind of be a little bit more lenient and say, yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't really mind that a whole lot. So, yeah, those are just my thoughts, though. I would love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on all my social medias, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.